And we're live. Here we are. Hanging out with you guys. Did some cutting today. Bring you guys up here. Here we are. Okay. Sunday night, a little bit on the late side. Actually, I ended up cutting with this 372. Hey, Craig. We got 372 here and 350. Dad's 350. But we actually did some cutting today. Jesse Grimm. Leonard. How's it going, guys? I didn't get to watch Buckin earlier. Did anybody watch Buckin earlier live? Didn't get to watch him. So I actually did cutting. We took a red oak down, mainly with this. We were cutting it up with that, but this started having some idle issues, so didn't really want to idle good. Hey, Brian, Craig, Leonard. All kinds of people here, just hanging out. So let's see. So what I figured, let's put the 370. This actually ran pretty good. This was really very potent. So, I guess the compression is pretty good. All right. Right. 350. It was having idling issues. Why was it idling high? I just want to check the bolts. Hey, Tim. My Felco 2's doing a little pruning today. Actually, I was making some cuts. I took some cuts off some fruit trees to hand to my dad because he wants to graft them up. So whatever. So this was just idling too high, and I don't know why. So let's do some bolt checks. Some random bolt checks. Just check the carburetor bolts here. Those are tight. Oh, I see. Well, let's check the head bolts. Might as well. That's tight. That's tight. It was running. It had good power, but it seemed like it was almost out of gas. It didn't want to idle down. And it started out good, but I don't know. It seemed to have issues. And I wonder... This throttle rod on... This is the upgraded carburetor. This is a 199 carburetor. This throttle rod binds. Dude, West. No, James, I ignore you. Kidding. I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. Who else is here? Who else did I miss? What did I shout out for? William Prophet. How's it going? Yes, Craig is my surrogate here. He can say hi to everybody for me. That's fine. I lost a darn top cover bolt. These are, it's supposed to be captured bolts, but if it gets wallowed out, then the bolts are not captured. So I'm just thinking I may just get my dad a brand new one. Heck with it. Eric, what's going on, buddy? Haven't heard from you. Everything good? Any progress? Place ad right here. Place ad right here. I don't know what that means, James. It's the meds. So what do you think? Should I take the I'll take the handle off. I'll take the handle off. And then I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about. Your part is on the way. Sweet. Of course, we have a President's Day tomorrow, so no mail tomorrow. Maybe Tuesday, if it comes priority. That's gonna be sick. Your problem from yesterday. You mean the lack of sales of my 394s? That problem? Or you mean the forestry forum problem? Craig, did you change that crank out on the Poulon? I wouldn't know. The forestry forum problem, yeah. Yeah, Tuesday would be great. If it's coming priority mail, then it might get here Tuesday, which would be awesome. That'd be perfect. And no, I didn't catch Ken's small engine live stream today. I was actually cutting for the first time in a long time. So Jesse says, I subscribe to your channel, watching 360 build fire. Was wanting to build one second. Yeah, you know, the 360, it just, I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling the build, you know? Maybe it would be good, but I just wasn't feeling it. Just wasn't. Turned around. Craig, did you put a crank in the wrong direction? You got a 50-50 shot. You still screwed it up? Not me. Somebody else did? It's still funny. Okay, so what I wanted to show everybody, the thing with 350s is they definitely have some, yes, oh, they definitely have some issues that need to be addressed, especially if you're going to do modifications. And like all the little stuff, I mean, it just all adds up, and you got to change this, that, this, that, this, that. When you get them to run right, oh God, they're fantastic. But so I know I just noticed that the throttle was sticking. Now I don't know why, but what can stick, yeah. If this is down even a little bit for whatever reason, then the throttle can stick open. And I wonder if that had to do with the high idle issue. I don't know for sure. Red oak today, hybrid. Red oak at my father's place. So that's tight. That's tight. And I don't, I'm not cranking on these. I just want to feel. feel if there's any movement at all. Because the ones that I've seen that do come loose, I mean, there's immediate movement. But that's not the issue here. So, let me check one other thing. Did my dad forget to fill it with gas? Oh, gas is in there. Okay. Is it possible the fuel line was being pinched? Guess it's always possible. I wonder if I can pull a vacuum on the tank vent. Maybe. No, it's for firewood, not milling. Unfortunately, it was just not a big enough tree, and my dad's place is a significant distance from me, so unfortunately, milling just doesn't really happen. I don't know. Would the fuel line have caused that? Probably not. But it sure is possible. Okay, so I don't know if I can show this, but the throttle shaft on the HDA 199 goes down, and for whatever reason, there's a second end to it, and it doesn't really connect with anything. There's a metal piece down there on the other end, and it can actually bind on the chassis. So you actually need to grind away a little bit of the chassis in order for it to be loose. And if for whatever reason the top cover presses on the air filter, if this presses down even a little bit, it can bind. So I'm wondering if that might be the reason why the bad idle. Or the high idle, rather. It just wouldn't come down, in idle. Milling far away sucks. Well, if you're chainsaw milling, oh god, yeah. Custom Cutter 100. Hey Matt, finally got my 350 running. Case split on last year is running great after porting squish pop-up piston mod. Great. Custom Cutter, make sure you check the head bolts. So let me get the flashlight and look in here and see if I can see where it might be binding. Yeah, the only thing that the metal does, I think it's a throttle stop. On the other side, I think it's actually the throttle high end stop. Is the low end stop too? It's the stop on the other side. So it stops it for the high and stops it down at the idle. So let's pull this off and pull this apart here. can see what we can see. Taking these intakes apart is just a piece of cake. So there's your throttle. It's that easy. And you can just release this whole assembly from the AV mounts, which are just rubber mounts, and then you pull the carburetor off with a couple of 4mm Allens. Did I check the pan bolts? I checked the head bolts. The pan bolts are impossible to check unless you take the handle off. And if I don't find really anything wrong with the carburetor here, then I can certainly do that, you know. You know, it's funny. There's a mark here. I don't know if everybody can see it, but let me see if we. Here, let me bring you over. I've already modified this. Maybe I didn't do quite enough. $19 people here watching. You tried live chat? Love it. Isn't it fun, Ken? Isn't it great? I love this. So, can you guys see it? Here, let me see if I can bring it even closer. Hang on. Right here, there almost looks like there's a shiny spot. Yes, James, you can be the mod for this site. Ken, I like that topic. Two-stroke tools. Very nice. I approve. Anyway, so you can see there might be a rub right here. And you can see I've ground this out, but maybe I didn't do quite enough, you know? This is, yeah, the problem I'm having, so this is Dad's 350, and I just rebuilt it for like the 15th time. And Dad was running it, and I noticed that it just wouldn't idle down. So I'm hoping it's not an air leak, but I'm kind of thinking, let's do the easy stuff first. I don't think it's an air. It's got brand new OEM bearings in it. Should be fine. So if you can see on here, so it's this part right here that binds. Again, this is an HDA 199. So these are the, there's some debate on these, but this is technically a 359 carburetor. It can at the beginning of the day it idled fine. After 15 minutes of running, the idle was up. So I think it was binding. It's very possible that something, you rough it around and something comes slightly out of alignment and is binding. Let's go with that theory for right this minute. I'm hoping against hope that actually is what's up. All right. Yeah, so I want to do the simple stuff first, and then I'll, I messed with the screws, getting it to idle and whatnot. This carburetor is modified. It's done the usual modifications for this model. Actually, I think Tree Monkey has that video on how to modify this particular carburetor. So the AV mounts essentially need to be shoehorned in. Always wanted to build a shoehorn, never did it. That's on there. That's good. Put this back. Obviously, I'm not going to test this tonight, but Terry still sounds like a darn dentist. Yeah, I have that tendency. What are the best? Well, the HDA 199s have issues because of airflow or whatever. So you cut a hole in the top, that way the diaphragm can actually move, and also apparently there's a blue diaphragm whatever on the other side with the flappers, and that blue diaphragm goes bad or something like that. So you're supposed to use the tan one. Again, Tree Monkey has the video somewhere. It's on YouTube somewhere. Let's put the throttle back. Need to look and see. One of the problems with the 350 is that this throttle linkage really is not the best, because it doesn't account for the fact that what if this AV spring is bad. So if you hang if you hang this saw off like your belt or something like that, then you can stretch this, and what can happen is if you stretch it far enough, then the throttle comes out, or if you have the AV mount that's bad, then the throttle itself, the throttle rod comes out and sticks, and when it sticks full on. Obviously, that's bad. So that's one of the flaws overall in the 350 design. So don't hang this. I mean, use it as a bucking saw. Don't hang, if you're going to hang a carabiner, don't do it off the handle. Put the gas line back on here. All right, so this is, say, Matt, you forgot the line here. Yes, I did. Forgot the kill wire. I would have turned it on and then not been able to turn it off. You should be able to pin it all the way and have it return back to idle every single time. Enjoying a beer. I don't have a beer right now. Maybe I should get a beer. I don't know. Blue is stiffer than brown. Yeah, for whatever reason, the blue doesn't fare well on these particular carbs. Still drinking coffee. Yeah, I should go get a cup of coffee. That sounds good. So you're saying don't yank it out of a pinch either. Yeah, don't yank it out of a pinch. Pretty much anything where you're torquing this, away from that. I don't know if I can get it to I mean, you really have to yank on it to do that. But if this AV mount isn't tight, and these AV mounts, for whatever reason, they come out of the handle. I don't know why, but they do. I don't know what it is, but you do have to check and make sure that the AV mount itself is mounted properly to the gas tank. Hang your 340 by the wrap handles. Yes, well, hang it from anywhere you want, but not here. Actually, ideally, if you could put a mount literally like here, that would be okay, you know? I am bearing it up. Tomorrow's my only day off. Ooh, okay. Yeah, it was snowing here a few minutes ago, Ken. I noticed that not too terribly long ago. I think I'm going to put this back together, put the handle back on, and hope and pray that that was it. And then maybe I'll get to test it one of these days. I've got work tomorrow, snow or not. So don't forget this little piece too. What other saws does Dad use? Dad's favorite is the Husky 257. The 257. He's had that saw since new, and he still likes it and uses it today. I've been trying to get him to use the 350 more. A, because it's lighter and probably has as much power, but also because the 350 you can get parts for like crazy, and the 257, which is really kind of, it's the same chassis as the 261 and 262, is harder to get parts for, you know? So I'm like, well, shoot, use the stuff you can get parts for, and these 350s are lighter anyway, and I can rebuild it in a heartbeat. That's not a problem. Low 80s. Low 80s. Y'all getting snow up north, rain in the south. Yeah, we're getting snow here coming, maybe tomorrow. So yeah, this is Dad's 350. We're still trying to dial this thing in. I've rebuilt this a number of times, just to, every time there's some little thing wrong with it, and I'm trying to just dial it in and make sure that it's, solid for Dad. It had a leak, and it was the darn bearing had somehow chemically gotten eaten. I had never seen that before. That was one issue. Hot here in New Zealand, love winter. 25 people. Sweet. I'm going to get him a new top cover. Just cuz, Hang on. Let me see. Do I have... I doubt it. I doubt I've got another top handle screw here hanging out, because they're a bit of a rarity. They really are. Just such a pain in the neck, these darn things. They're not there. That's one. But it ain't captured. So what I actually need to do somehow is melt the plastic here so that it captures it. I don't know. I'm gonna try it. Fretting corrosion comment. No, it wasn't the ball bearings. It was actually the rubber. The rubber somehow chemically got eaten. I have no idea what happened. Couldn't explain it. Have no idea what was going on there. I even showed Bob from Ashoka Turf and Timber, and he couldn't explain it either. Custom cutters. Are any other saws as friendly to mods as a 350? And no, I don't think it's the Reaction 1184. I don't remember what it was that I had used. It could have been brake cleaner or something even. I don't know, but it was weird. Um, so as far as saws that are as friendly to mods as a 350, I don't think so. I really don't think so. The ease that you can take this saw apart and put it back together is just crazy. It's got lots of parts available for it. There's modifications you can do to it. It's light. It's very powerful for its size. Um, I really like these things. Now I don't like working on dads over and over again for other dumb issues that could, but they do creep up. But assuming you can keep all the bolts tight and get it to basically a steady state, these things rock. And you can just fiddle with them forever. Different heads, whatever. I mean, you can just keep fiddling and fiddling and fiddling. Yeah, I gotta use the heat here. Let's put the heat to it. Basically. Yeah, I don't know what it was. It was just like the oddest thing ever. That why did the bearing get eaten? I don't know. I'm actually gonna go on top here just a little bit. Everybody gets on to me about using WD-40. So, whatever. Yeah, this soldering station, it is my understanding my grandfather pulled this soldering station literally out of the garbage can. Yeah, that's captured now. He pulled it out of the garbage can at work. Like forever and a day ago, my grandfather used to work at Pitney Bowes, and he was a prototype tool and die maker. And as the story goes, this was somehow in the garbage outside. Grandpa pulled it out, and my dad had it. So I ended up borrowing it basically indefinitely. And my dad's reward for me borrowing this indefinitely was I found him a new old stock one on eBay. Beautiful. It's still in the box. But this has been like one of those super consistent tools that works really, really well. It heats exactly the way you want to heat. It heats immediately, just super fast. Um, it's a great tool. Yeah, this one has a rotational on-off switch, but other than that, there's no adjustments at all. It works beautiful. I have a pool on. It looks like the 350. Do not know what model is. Need an oil tank. This one, the oil tank is built into the chassis, and while we're here and discussing 350s, I guess I can quickly hit the 350 stuff. The basic, like the 350 basics, are basically three things. One is the base of them is somehow put on bearing riser block, where the bearings and the riser block are all put together at the base of the cylinder head. Somehow it's put together with some Dow Corning stuff that apparently doesn't last, mostly because somehow the base bolts come loose. So the base bolts need to be put in with Loctite, and they ideally need to be fine thread instead of the coarse thread ones. So that's one thing. Base needs to be basically resealed if you're modifying a 350, if you're taking it apart. Base needs to be resealed. The muffler ideally needs a muffler support. This one, these I think are rusted in, so it doesn't really matter. But I don't remove this muffler from that head. But ideally, you need a muffler support on here to prevent the muffler, when it comes loose, it melts into the oil tank, and then you have to throw the whole chassis away. That's issue number 2. And then issue number 3 is the intake boot needs to have a metal clamp on it. The plastic clamps that were original to these and the 346 XPs, 357, 359s even, the plastic clamps give up eventually, and you end up with an air leak, and the saw eats itself. So these are known issues that need to be taken care of. If you are going to buy a Husky 350, those issues need to be taken care of before you can consider the saw a reasonable saw. That is my opinion. Personally, I tend to think that in good running condition, the 350s are good running rebuilt condition. The 350s are worth $250 to $300, assuming it's in nice shape. It's difficult getting more than $300 for these things. So if you're out looking for one and it doesn't have those modifications, as far as I'm concerned, it is a parts saw. So you pay parts value for it, not running saw value, because the fact that it's running is luck, not anything else. My opinion. So you need a muffler. There's a bracket here that goes here, and that is for, like, the 346 XP has a bracket that you can buy and then just cut one of the legs off. And it's just a support bracket. You can get the aftermarket ones. They're very inexpensive. The 136 bearings and seals came yesterday. That's the next job for me. Cool. Tim worked on so many under warranty, got sick of them. Yeah, there are definite issues. The other thing that I noticed was, if you're playing with squish, then you have to be particularly careful, because if you tighten the squish too much, then you end up having cylinder head bolts that are too long, and they bottom out before the head is sealed, before it's locked down. Those bolts bottom out, and you'll do one of a couple of things. One, strip the riser block, which is bad. Then you have to go to an M6 bolt. Done that plenty of times. Or the other problem is you won't get a seal. So now you have a leak, or a leak that will happen, because no matter what goops you put on there, it's just not going to hold unless you have super tight cylinder head bolts. So you may have to shorten slightly the cylinder head bolts. That is a very important thing that you really don't want to miss. Muffler clamp is 346, yes. Take care, Craig. Load up the wood stove. That sounds good. Where did they get the metal clamps? Went to They ordered a new intake and it came with the plastic bracket. What the heck? The clamp is what goes around. Well, it's an $8 part from your dealer. It should be the. Do I have one? It goes around the right up against the head. It's what holds the boot onto the cylinder head. It's a metal clamp and it just clicks. That is an upgrade after, I believe it was a technical service bulletin that came out either 2006 or 2008. It was a TSB that came out regarding that, and you can look that up. I think it's on Arborist's site. Somebody mentioned it. But any dealer should be able to get that part with the metal clamp without any trouble. Yeah, definitely. Whether it's a 346, whether it's the Pro model or the homeowner model, didn't matter. Either way, the saw will tend to eat itself if you do not have that metal clamp on there. In order to get a metal clamp on, you cannot do that with the head on the saw. You have to pull the head. So if somebody's trying to sell a chainsaw, 350, 357, 359, 345, any of those, and it does not have the metal clamp, you have got to be prepared to pull that saw completely apart, because you're going to pull not just going to pull the head off, but you're not going to stop there. You're going to pull the saw completely apart and reseal that riser block as well. So you're talking about down to the crank. You have to pull the whole thing apart, which is not a bad thing, but you have to be prepared to do that. So you got to get the saw for cheap. Yeah, you have to pull the top end, and again, Leonard, I'm thinking I'd never buy that saw. Carb off. If somebody can wiggle that thing on without pulling the head off, more power to them. I just don't even bother. You pull the head off, because if that modification hasn't been done, it also means that the base hasn't been resealed. You need to reseal the base. You just do. Pull everything apart. Just do it. Eric Briggs, bulkhead? I don't know what you mean, Eric. Dude West, what's the best aftermarket head for a 350? Um, I went over this in my cylinder head comparison video. So here's where I'm at on the heads. The OEM head for a 346 XP fits on the 350. There isn't a whole lot of reason not to use it. They're quite inexpensive. They're a little over $100, usually over $100 shipped for the OEM 346 XP head. The reason you might prefer the highway head over the OEM head is the highway head has plating all the way up the top of the cylinder, up the squish band. I mean, everything's plated up in there, beautiful. It's about the same price. If you're going to maybe cut a pop-up, or if you're not planning on cutting squish band, then the Highway 346 XP clone head, which is 45 millimeter, closed port, not open port. It's not the one with the removable transfer covers. It's a 45 millimeter head. Then you can consider the highway head. This is a highway head, and it's got great power. If you're going to cut the squish band, if you're planning on really heavy modifying it, cutting the squish band and the whole bit, get the OEM cylinder head, because the OEM head has a lip on the squish band, and if you're going to be cutting the band anyway, you can get rid of that, like, no problem. If you're planning on cutting the squish band, don't get the highway head. It's plated too nice up there. You don't want to be doing that. Does that answer the question? Jesse Grimm, I love this. Like chess club with chainsaws. Hooked. Great, Jesse. Problem is, I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this. I love it dearly, and I love hanging out with you guys. I really do. I just don't know how often I'm going to be able to offer you good content, you know? And right now, tonight, it's 9 o'clock on a Sunday. I'm not going to start this thing up and, you know, demonstrate the issues that we've got. I'd like to, but it's just no point in me doing that. So, what else? So I'm left basically stuck selling 394s. You're gonna do it forever. Maybe, Leonard, maybe. I don't know. I'm hooked too, you know, it just, I love hanging out. And if what Eric Briggs is sending me is awesome, then we'll be able to finish putting that other saw together. More. It was an addiction for me last year when I rebuilt my 350. Now I own 5 saws and had one before finding Matt and Walt. Yeah, I think Matt and Walt end up being blamed for a lot of that stuff. So I'm up to 14. Fingers crossed. I'm up to 14 chainsaws, not including the 2 394s down there that I have for sale. So, come on, Terry, you can swing it. Just sell a kidney or something. Come on. Now, my wife is actually down here in the mole hole, so, you know, I think I'd freak her out a little bit. Believe me, she can hear everything that I'm saying. Sometimes she comes on and spies on me, too. A little dry. I'd like to run it a little more oil than that. But this cut nice. It was like a little weird starting it. I don't know what it is. A little weird starting, but it definitely cut great. It revved great. It idled good. Once it was going, it was good. So I don't know if it's something a little funky with the carburetor or what. Probably be good to take a couple of swipes on there, yeah, you know, a couple of swipes. Just kissing it. Yeah, my wife comes on just to make comments, but real random and not often. Is the Suji a lightweight? Yeah, the Suji is a lightweight bar. This is a 24. This is my preferred way to sharpen. Only take a couple of swipes. That's all you got to do. And I'm not even hitting the rakers yet. I could have run this chain a lot more before I sharpened it, but this is nice because you can just take a couple of swipes. And it's, I mean, beautiful. Your miss should sub you on your show. Then you believe me, she does, Leonard. She does. She checks up on me occasionally, but you know, I'm awful boring. And she hears me talk all the time. So, you know. Cut on that. That's sharp. So I don't, when I'm sharpening, I really don't do anything special. I don't know if John Riley's around, but Riley comes on, he can show anybody how to really sharpen, but I'm not even worried about that. You know, he does square filing and all this other fancy stuff with chains. I don't even do that. I literally just make sure it's reasonably sharp with a round file, and I'm a real happy guy. Dude West, you take care, okay, buddy? Yeah, just like Chess Club, but with chainsaws. Barry Reynolds is on. Sharp. Still waiting for Barry to buy that $394. Right, Barry? What is a supper thing? A southern word. Dinner, supper, whatever. Of course, I forgot which one I started on. It's okay, I can see it. I'll be able to see the shiny metal. If you invite the preacher over for dinner, you get a show right up after church. Yeah. Yeah, I found that around here too. My parents comment on dinner being at 1 o'clock. There's my shiny metal. I got 2 more. There we go. Side is sharp. Adirondack says, I have the home number for a guy here on YouTube in case he electrocutes himself in his lab. I can call his wife. He also lives in Connecticut. Okay, cool. Jesse Graham says, is this a Husky channel or do you mess with all saws? I mainly do Husky, Jesse, because that's just kind of where I fell into. But also because the steels that I've worked on in general kind of leave a bad taste in my mouth. Because a lot of them are kind of a pain compared to the Huskies. I like working on the Huskies because, well, you can see how easy that 350 was to mess with, Barry Reynolds, try to convince my dad to buy it. Nice. It's okay, Barry. No pressure. No pressure. It's all right. I'm in no particular big hurry to sell them. If they go, they go. If they stay, they stay. It's the way it is. But yeah, Jesse. So, in general, I tend to like how the Huskies come apart and go back together. That's just my tendency. Not every Husky is something that I'm really into. I tend to dislike proprietary bearings. Just one of my Steelman. What's all this Husky talk? I was just about to poo-poo steel. I tend to not like proprietary bearings, and both Steel and Husky are guilty of it. But I just get really annoyed with proprietary bearings. So I tend to have chainsaws that don't have proprietary bearings in them. So for instance, this 372 has regular 6202 bearings in there. You can do cheap Chinese ones. You can do, these are the Japanese bearings. Actually, I don't even know. I don't remember what's in here. I think this is actually a Chinese crank, but this is OEM cases, so these are Nachi bearings. I use Japanese bearings for these, but they're regular off-the-shelf bearings. You don't have to spend $30 on a bearing. I think that's stupid in general. So I try not to have chainsaws that have proprietary bearings. The 394s have regular 6203s. Again, something that's just completely off the shelf. They were only a few bucks each, and you can get the nice Japanese ones for only a couple of bucks. So there's really, if you can make a saw that's that nice, there's really no sense, at least in my opinion, of having a proprietary bearing. But Husky is guilty of it too. So the 346 XP has it. The 385 390s have it. 576s have it. The old 242s had it too. Probably the two saws that are the most straightforward as far as bearings and seals that I know of are the Husky 394s and the Husky 357, 359s. I've not put one of those together yet, but both of the 394 and the 359 have identical seals and bearings on both sides. I don't see why every saw doesn't do that. It just doesn't make any sense to me, but that is the case for a lot of saws. Drank too much cough syrup. How can you be a moderator, James, if you drank too much cough syrup? Barry Reynolds, Jesse Graham, Matt is a 394 XP fanatic. Yes, I am. Hey, no poo-poo talk about steel. Why not? Steel uses those darn proprietary bearings. Drives me nuts. Anyway, Husky all the way. Whatever. I tend to like Husky because I tend to be able to take them apart easier. It's just me. The 660 is not too bad. The 660s have their own issues, but the 660 is not too bad, and the 200T isn't too bad. So, of anything I wouldn't mind owning either of those. The 200T is a little bit of a different animal, but whatever. All saws have proprietary parts. At least I've found, not just bearings. No, there's no question about that. But when you have a bearing, so this is actually a Husky bearing. This is a Husky. So this is wider than a regular old 6203, but the inner race, the outer dimension is the same as a 6203. It just happens to have a seal here. So this, believe it or not, is a Husky bearing. It'll actually fit a 660. Just don't tell anybody. So anyway, the problem with this is that this is $30 or $40. You get it to deal $40. You're looking at $30 or $40 for this one bearing. That's stupid. The reason why these saws end up being tossed aside, they end up being cast aside instead of rebuilt, is because at every turn, both Husky and Steel have decided that they're not the parts business, they're in the selling saws business. So what happens is they've taken and made rebuilding saws a logistical impossibility by pricing them out of the realm of realistic. So if you had a $6 part, but now it's a $40 part, that just goes towards the chain of, how expensive is it going to be to rebuild? Well, you need a $40 this and a $6 fuel line, and suddenly you're up to $300, $400, $500. And it's like then they start showing you the new saw rack. So instead of getting a saw rebuilt, they end up chucking it, and that works great for them because they can just sell new saws instead of having to deal with the rebuilds and all that. So I disagree with that. I fundamentally disagree with that. And you take one of the most important parts of the chainsaw, the bearing, and you have to make it more complicated than it needs to be. I'm sorry, I just have a hard time getting convinced that you need to have a proprietary bearing. You don't. Off the shelf bearing and off the shelf seal, and away you go. It's my own opinion. Is Sujihara a proprietary bar? No, but it is an aftermarket part. So not all aftermarket parts are a downgrade. This is one of Walt's points, and I think it's Walt and Bob have mentioned this a number of times, is that not all aftermarket chainsaw parts are a downgrade necessarily. So the Sujihara bars are very nice, and they're pricey, but it's a nice bar. The 660 is an easier saw to work on. The 200T is a different league. The 200T, once you get used to it, is no big deal at all. Ideally, you need some tools to work on it. Like I figured out how to make a press to press the seals in, and then it's really like no problem at all to rebuild that thing. Once you get used to them, you can build them in a heartbeat. The 660 isn't too bad. Jesse Graham, I agree, they're a pain, just enjoy a challenge. Frustration makes me a better man. Have 5 kids. Patience have made me enjoy over engineering. CL441 Magnum is a pain to work on. Yeah, there's no. The 441s get a really bad rap. I've messed with one once. It's my buddy Joe's, and actually Joe is the guy that got that. What saw was that? The 034 that I rebuilt. Joe bought that off me, because he doesn't want to lug around his 441, and the 441 just, there's so much weird stuff going on with it. I don't know. It just didn't make any sense to me. So whatever. Steelman, I actually agree with you about proprietary bearing. It actually, OEM parts are expensive in many realms, not just bearings. Yeah, I mean, there's no question. It all adds up. The issue is it all adds up when you're doing a rebuild. So everything from the fuel line to the impulse line, just add rubber parts and make them double or triple as expensive as they need to be, and suddenly, you have a saw that's not worth rebuilding. And but it all starts with the darn bearings, and the bearings is one place. You can understand if something needs a molded fuel line for whatever reason, right? You might be able to understand that, but I still don't understand the proprietary bearing thing. And everybody talks about, you got to make the saw narrower. I don't. A millimeter, maybe 2, is what you're saving overall. I don't know. I don't see it. I just don't see it. So whatever, You're working on a 357 XP build for me, huh? Okay. I'd like to do one. I don't have any need for one though. I just don't have a need for it. I was gonna do one, and then I ended up selling the parts to David on here, and I don't know where he is tonight, but I was gonna do one, and I didn't because I sold the parts. But I did want to explore the build. But in reality, it really is just like a large 346 XP, with the exception of the bearings being not proprietary. So, I don't need it. I got 14 chainsaws. This works plenty well for me. There's no point in me having anything else, Matt, you making won't go outside and cut something down. That's true. I gotta get outside. I gotta get outside and cut more stuff down. That's what I gotta do. Why is this all awkward? That's why. Is the saw on the screen a fresh built runner? Yes, sort of. I think I built this one live, and I redid the tank vent. I pulled the tank off again because I wasn't it was running out of juice in the cut. So I'd cut one third cut, it'd be like, and then I'd wait a second, and then it would come back to life again. And I think the tank vent was having a hard time keeping up with the demand for fuel. So I changed the tank vent. It had a Chinese tank vent in here, and I modified it significantly, and we went through that a number of videos ago, a number of live sessions ago. And I think that's helped. I didn't have any of that bogginess, at least not in the cut today. I no problem. It pulled good, it restarted good. This is a very, very potent saw. Not my port work. This is somebody else's port work. But it's a really potent piece, and this is actually an OEM big bore. If you had to tear down a 346 to replace the clamp, would you re-ring the piston or maybe replace the piston? Maybe. I'd probably re-ring it, assuming the pistons. Imagine the pistons pristine. I would probably consider re-ringing it. You know. There's really no harm in that, you know. Might have to go back to the break-in period, but so what, you know? Still waiting for John Riley to come back on and school us all in sharpening. He doesn't need to come on, though. He's got a pretty cool channel. He's always posting fun builds. I'm not building much anymore just because I don't have the time for it. I've got to focus on other things in my life. And admittedly, I'm having a hard time doing just about anything but work right now. Just physically, I get tired after work and I come down here and hang out with you guys, but I'm not feeling like doing all kinds of projects. Power and speed cost money. How fast do you want to go? Fast. 357 is just a bigger 346 with crank stuffers. Basically, yeah. Getting sick to show up like it's snow blowing. Snow coming tomorrow. Almost done with this. Have no idea when I'm going to get to do cutting again. Oh, that's it. That'll do. My buddy just dropped off his farm saw 445X torque. Won't idle. Pretty sure a fuel line could be. I'm going to tear into it, but this is way more fun. Buy the $10 fuel line unless they have a cheaper fix. You never know. Could have an air leak too. You could have ripped the. Sometimes you rip the intake boots, or all kinds of stuff happens on those things. You guys got a lot of snow on the ground. We're having rain for the whole week. Love the snow. We get to stay and watch Matt. Thanks, Letter. Do appreciate it. We have we have basically bare spots and spots with 2 or 3 inches on the ground still. It depends on what gets sunshine and what doesn't. You know, Jesse, you can certainly tear into that thing and see what happens, but you got that's the thing is you got a saw that doesn't idle. One thing to do is certainly spray carburetor cleaner around, and I think I've shown that in a number of other videos. But you can take carburetor cleaner, or brake cleaner. Usually brake cleaner is better. But you take brake cleaner and you spray it around the cylinder head, and if it's running and you can spray it around like the base of the cylinder head and you kill it, you know you've got a leak. Hot here in New Zealand. Ricardo, too bloody hot. Well, it's not too hot here. It's like 35 when I got home. It just started to snow. After the show, we take kids to the beach. Oh my word. You're killing me, Leonard. Killing me. You don't need to hit the rakers yet on this one. I'll probably do them next go around. No, the moderator never got back to me. I'm wondering if it didn't get sent specifically to the moderator. I don't know what happened because after it got banned, or after it got moved rather, it told me you've received a warning, and then so I just hit reply to that. I don't know if I replied in the right spot. Might go for a dive, get some seafood. Oh my word. That's the life, Leonard. It's a much different life. Over here, we're just feeding ourselves coffee all the time. Which, speaking of which, I better... Holy cow, it's almost 10 o'clock. I gotta go to bed. I gotta go to bed. I want to hang out, but I gotta go to bed. Let's see. That's good. So, alright, let's call it. I've got this sharp. If I can figure out how to up the oiler here a little bit. But thanks everybody. Anybody wants anybody wants tools or 394s, they can let me know. Here is my email, so anybody can email me anytime. Going into a busy week, so I may be a tad slow with the emails, but I will certainly come back on if I can. Maybe tomorrow night, we'll see. I don't have any content for tomorrow night, but you never know. We'll see. So everybody be safe. Have a great night. Be safe in the snowstorm, Ken. And everybody else getting snow, of course, be safe out there. And we'll see you guys later. Take care. Have a good night. Thanks for moderating, James.